MGM Resort says operations are almost back to normal tonight, with some systems still down after a cyber attack last week.
Now we've learned that MGM wasn't the only casino targeted. Caesars Entertainment says they too were hit by a cyber attack earlier this month, but none of their operations were impacted. They told federal investigators that rewards members may have had their private data exposed.
Right now, the MGM cyber attack is under investigation by the FBI, but the extent of the investigation is not widely known.
Joining us tonight for a little more insight is David Derigiotis, Chief Insurance Officer with Embroker. David, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So this seems like it shouldn't be happening. We're talking about MGM and Caesars. These are huge companies, presumably with major investments in cybersecurity. How does this keep happening?
We're talking about the digital equivalent of Ocean's 11, all without having to step foot on premise. Casinos typically have very good security as it relates to their physical standards, but that doesn't always translate to the digital realm, and that's what we're seeing here.
Wow.
Scattered Spider, this is the group that has supposedly taken credit for this. What do we know about them?
Yeah, a lot of ransomware groups, they typically will be around for a couple of years. They'll do really well, they'll generate incredible profits, then they'll shut down, they'll scatter, and then they'll pop up new operations. Scattered Spider and Black Cat, which is another name for part of these groups, that's exactly what they are. They're a newer organization, been around for a couple of years. They're a descendant of an organization that helped compromise the Colonial Pipeline, if you remember, from a couple of years ago. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing more groups popping up. They look to be successful, and they close when things get a little bit hot.
It seems like we're hearing about more attacks like this just every other week almost. And as we've discussed, there are many more that we probably just haven't heard about that have happened sort of behind closed doors. What is the takeaway from all of this? Is anyone's information safe?
Well, I think as we become more of a digitally connected economy and world, no one is safe. I mean, that's really the stance that organizations and people have to take. You have to be very proactive. You have to dedicate the necessary resources, time, energy, effort, and money to protecting sensitive data. For every ransomware event or cybersecurity event that we hear about, there are countless that fly under the radar that you just don't hear about. Caesars was able to fly under the radar for a little while because they made the ransomware payment and they minimized their disruptions. That all came to light, though, unfortunately, after MGM experienced their attack.
We're led to believe that a lot of these groups end up getting away with this in some sort of capacity. How does it seem so simple when we're hearing this giant uptick in these cases?
Well, it's tough. When you have organizations that are located all over the world and they have immunity in certain places like Russia, it's difficult to be able to coordinate on a worldwide basis and bring these criminals truly to justice. So that's a hard part. A lot of them, they're taking cover under other areas, under other countries, other governments. So it's not as easy as you think to bring them to justice.
If each one of these attacks is a battle, are we losing the war against cyber criminals in general?
It's a constant cat and mouse game. You know, good guys win a point, they take a step forward, then they take 2 steps back when something happens. It's a constant back and forth. And the tactics change, quite frankly, quite a bit. So depending on the technology, depending on how you're connected, you have to change the way that you're investing, you have to change the way that you're training and protecting your data. These particular cases had to do with social engineering. They weren't as high-tech in terms of finding like a 0-day or being able to exploit some type of software vulnerability. They were very skilled social engineers that identified data on LinkedIn, and they used that against the company to gain access.
How can we, if we are a group member at Caesars or MGM and have one of those casino cards or a regular, how do we make sure that our data was not breached?
Well, I think you have to always assume that your information has been compromised, if not in this one, the countless others that have happened before it. So I think as consumers, you have to take proactive steps. You have to put credit freezes in place. You have to be looking at all the different ways that you're instilling cybersecurity across your daily activities. Do you have a password manager in place? Do you have antivirus software? Simple things like that in layers can help add to greater security.
Do you think people are just becoming desensitized to this?
Unfortunately, I think people are becoming very numb because it's data breach after data breach after data breach. But the pain point hits a little bit harder when you are the one that experiences identity theft. There are hundreds of millions of compromised records that are all out there, and us as individuals might be a needle in that particular haystack. You don't want to be the one needle that gets found and have to deal with unwinding some type of fraud, some type of identity theft. So take these steps now to protect yourself.
All right, David Derigiotis, Chief Insurance Officer of Embroker and cybersecurity expert. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.